Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome everyone, I'm Chatty. This is my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting away madly about everything I've been reading for the first 2 months of April. So I have got books from 3 readathons. I've got books for Transgirl April, which is by Kevvie, and I have got books for the Magical Readathon by G, and I also have a picture book as well from the Picture This Readathon. So grab yourself a hot drink and settle in for a good old chat about some books. If you are new to the channel, then just let you know I do not edit my videos, so there could be chaos, there could be waffle, we will find out. I'd like to think I'm going to be succinct, but I always think that and I never am, so who knows what's going to happen. Cheers everyone. Clink 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 clink. So the first book I'm going to talk to you about is a picture book, and this is a book that I am focusing on for Picture This. I haven't done a TBR and followed the prompts because it slipped my awareness on the YouTube-ness. I didn't see the announcement video. I have no idea why. But anyway, I have got some other picture books for Transgirl April. So I'm just going to do talking about this particular book here, which I'll name in a minute. And I'm also going to be doing a deep dive into some mini grey books, which I meant to do last year and never got around to. So that will be coming up. So this book that I want to talk to you about is The Woodcutter and the Snow Prince, and it is written by Ian Eagleton, who wrote Nem, the Lonely Fisherman, which I haven't read, but everyone tells me is amazing, so I definitely want to read, and illustrated by Davide Ortu. And I think you will agree that the illustrations are beautiful. So for those who have got any visual impairments, I will just do a brief description of the picture for you. So we have got the Woodcutter and the Snow Prince title in foil, silver foiling, and we've got like a dark navy blue tone for the back of the picture book, and we have got this lovely border of like different ice creatures around the outside in very sort of various different shades of like pale blue and sort of more of a bluey greeny teal kind of colour, and some purple bits in as well. We've got a deer, we've got an owl, we've got a squirrel, and we've got a fox. The bottom of the page in more warm and autumn colours, we have the woodcutter, who is in a plaid shirt, has a nice purplish cloak, some gloves and an axe, and he's got brown hair and brown eyes. He's looking a little bit daunted, but he is looking up over here towards the iciness. And then at the top we have got a snow palace made of those same colour palette of the icy blue and the greens. And then on this sort of cloud of frost with a snowflake cloak swirling around with some more silver foiling is the Ice Prince. He is in a... I have no idea if it is, but I'm going to say I feel he is wearing like a navy velvet with... the word was in my head and I've totally ermine, that's it. I feel he's got some sort of ermine but made of snowflakes trim all around it, and he's got pale blue skin with sort of like iced highlights in it as well. And so yeah, the front cover is very intriguing. It definitely drew me in when I saw the book. On the back we have got the woodcutter gazing up at the Ice Prince, and we've got his childhood cottage here again, all in these oranges and browns and warmer colours. And at the top we have the prince riding on the back of a snow leopard. So this book fits the prompt of nighttime, it fits the prompt of blue, it fits the prompt of nature, and it fits the prompt of change. One of my favourite things about this book, before you even go into the story, is the end page map. And we've got the same colour palette going on here with the icy blues. And we also have some sort of like deeper purples and then some lilac-y bits as well. And then we've got more of the orangey colours, and then the orangey colours go more into sort of like a mauve. As we've got mountains and caves and forests kind of all surrounding it. and all the names are quite gloomy, like the Cottage of Loneliness and the Palace of Fear and the Woods of Wickedness. And that all sounds very, very daunting. And then the book, we start off hearing about the woodcutter who's a bit lonely, and we hear about this legend of the ice prince that turns people into ice statues if you come across him, and he's only free for one night, and that is Christmas Eve. But there is a knock at the cottage door, and there is the ice prince, but maybe the legend wasn't quite right, and maybe actually he's quite a nice person to hang out with on his palace balcony and watch the northern lights, and maybe the woodcutter develops very strong feelings towards this ice prince, but then he never comes back again. He's waiting lonely in his house and then decides to go and find him. So I love the look of determination on this face, yet still giving it this kind of like warmish, cuddly feel. And again, I just really love the colours. The mixture of the iciness mixed with then the warm oranges, as we have got here. And then the story kind of goes on from there, as it has very kind of fairy tale aesthetic to it. We have this legend. We have some sort of magical element that is keeping someone captured. There is a need for change. There is a need for some sort of curse or spell to be broken. And there must be a quest and great peril to be braved before we get there. You will find out whether or not that happens, but we do have the lovely end maps where suddenly the wording has changed. So we now have the Cottage of Happiness, the Palace of Possibilities, and the Woods of Wisdom. So the fear is taken away from all of these places, and there is more joy and love in there, and it is just so beautiful. I absolutely love the illustrations in this. I keep going on about the colour palette, but I really love the use of the colours in this, and it's so fairy tale-y and beautiful, and you can really feel that I can't show it to you because I feel it would be giving a huge amount away. But there is a moment with ice shattering. So I'll just give you a little sneaky peek. See, look here. So we've got on this A4 page spread, we've got like this cracking of ice. And there's lots of splinters of ice, and I love that reflected in one of the largest splinters of ice, you've got the woodcutter's face and his expression, and you have one of the snow princes as well. And I just love this expression of shock and worry and fear in his wide eyes, and it's just like from this little fragment of ice that comes through. And as I was reading it, I was getting I felt the tension of the story, and I was like, you need to get there. So I really love this. It was very, very beautiful, and I really want to not only read more work by the author, but absolutely find more picture books done by the illustrator, because I really love the artwork. There we go. That was my one for picture this. And we're now going to move on to talking about the first novel that I read for April. But I did start it in March, which is why I said March. This was not on my plans. It was not on my plans, but I needed to read it, so I did. And that is The Toll by Neil Shusterman. So in March, I finished Thunderhead, and I was like, do you know what? I just really want to read The Toll. I just want to read The Toll. So I finished off a couple of other books I had on the go as palette cleansers, and I'm like, right, it's time. I'm picking up The Toll. And it was so delightful just to read a series really close together. And just while I was in that mood, just keep going with it. It felt great. So I really hope I continue to do that sort of thing and be able to say, I don't need to read what I planned. I can just get on and read what is calling to me at this particular time. And as I read the first book in this series 2 years ago, I very much felt I need to embrace the fact that I want to pick this book up now, because otherwise it could be another 2 years, which I really don't want. So The Toll picks up sort of where the last book left off. But at this point in the story, we have got quite a few different characters. We have got different, you're trying to work out where you are on the time zone slightly for this, because you've got different snippets and it's like, is this a month after the last book? Is this a year? Is this 3 years? Is this from way back in the past, bit of information? Is this from way into the future, bit of information? And I quite enjoy that. I quite enjoy that I'm not sure where to place it yet. I need more information and you're theorizing, and I love all of that stuff. It's only a few snippets. You get a few different little bits and pieces before you then pick up the main story. And I love the anticipation it built up, because there's some certain characters that you're really keen to get to and find out what happened to them because of events at the end of the second book. And it just does a little bit of, this is where we are in the world right now. This is where we are in the world right now. Just really setting the scene for the world right now. And you're just like, where are those characters? What happened? And it was really good. So I just had absolutely great time with the Toll. I really loved this series. There was a lot to think about. There was very high stakes. There was a lot of plotting going on. There was a lot of bits coming together. And I only just realised that as I was looking at this, because I've seen this cover a lot, like it wasn't quite clear, but then I can see that this, behind the head here, is the shape of a tuning fork, which is symbolic of one of the religions in this world, which I found very interesting. So hearing the title of the Toll, I was like, is that because of, like, and then this is the fallout for stuff that happens, this is the toll of human life. This is, the toll of our decisions, like the result, what happened, the effect that we have caused. It's all taken its toll. That's kind of where my brain was going with this. But there are other meanings in here as well, but it doesn't make those ones I was also thinking of not true. So I just really enjoy how it can be meaningful on many levels. And I really enjoyed the characters. We had some more new characters in here, but one of them was just so lovely that they just fit right in. And others were kind of like minor characters or recurring characters. And it was just really fascinating how it all played out. There was so many moments where I was very highly concerned, so many moments in here where I was very relieved, so many moments when I was like, I really don't know what is happening. We have the world has changed a lot because of the fallout from the previous book, so we're looking at all of that going forward, and it was highly satisfying. Like everything that kind of went on, there was a sense of kind of bittersweetness, there was a sense of kind of inevitableness, there was a sense of all these kind of different things coming together and just making you question a lot of stuff. And I just love how it played with the future and all of that. So I think that's all I can say without giving it away. There is, trying to think how to put it. There's a lot of kind of like exploration of morality, of technology, of the purpose of things, of people's decisions, of reasons why people might choose to do things. And yeah, I thought it was fabulous. We also have an exploration of gender fluidity in here as a concept, that there is an island sort of within this world that's been rearranged in the future, where they just don't assign gender. You're just people, and then you can gender as you go. And it was really interesting looking at that fluidity, and the character who grew up there, and how they are very gender fluid. And I just thought it was a really sort of like warm portrayal that was really explored well in this world, and I just thought it worked really well. Obviously, I'm coming from this as a cisgendered person, so someone who is actually gender fluid might feel a certain way or not about this, I don't know, but from my point of view, I thought it was a really nice exploration of it. I thought it was, the character was highly authentic. They were very clear about how gender worked for them, and they were just so lovely. They became sort of like one of my favorite characters. I had a lot of feeling for this character, and it was really lovely. I felt a lot stronger towards the characters in the Toll, because like I said previously in Thunderhead, it was very much exciting for the plot, and I was interested in the characters and I liked them, but it wasn't as kind of emotionally connected as I might have been had I read Scythe closer together. But because I went straight into the Toll from Thunderhead, I carried those connections through and they got stronger in the Toll. So it worked on so many levels. Really loved this. So no regrets, even though it did not fit into any of my readathons. So I then read a book that definitely did fit in both of my readathons, so that worked out well. So the next book I picked up is it's very shiny, I'm Afraid of Men by Vivek Shraya. And then on the back it says, Men are afraid of me. This is a very, very small book. This is, I would sort of say, like a very mini memoir focusing on one particular aspect of her life. And it's more like an essay on that subject, but in the style of a memoir. And the use of second person and then first person I thought was really clever. So I think, do you start off the book with like an introduction? I can't remember because it was a while ago when I first started actually reading it. Yes, so it sort of has like an introduction to start off with. Yeah, so it's kind of like a sort of like 5 or 6 pages of Vivek Shraya kind of like explaining her relationship with men, how she's been taught to feel, the concept of masculinity that she was taught, that she is a trans woman, so she was assigned male at birth, so has been shown masculinity from a male perspective and then shown masculinity from the perspective of a trans woman, and just kind of like how that has made her feel. And then it goes on to the first part of the memoir is called You, and the second part of it is called Me. So it very much puts you in the position of people she is talking about. So it was really interesting to read it that way. It's very small, but it really is very powerful. So I went into this just knowing that lots of people really enjoyed it, and not really having anything to expect other than that. And it really focused in on gender and how we perceive what being a man is, and how we perceive what being a woman is, and how we are treated sort of accordingly by society, and how we kind of allow certain behaviours, and why we do or don't call out these behaviours. And just like that she's had to deal with being deemed too feminine as a boy, but not feminine enough as a girl, and just how this puts us in a strange place, and just the anxiety levels that brings on because of her experiences. So because of the bullying and the harassment that she had at such an intensity at such a young age, she has now kind of got this fear that she is going to be judged as being wrong by being too femme or not femme enough, and just not feeling safe most of the time. So just constantly living in this state of anxiety just because of how she presents. And it's just appalling that anyone has to live their life like that. And it was very powerful. And just negotiating relationships and negotiating like this need for friendship with men, as well as, you know, not just looking at a romantic relationship, but also looking at you know, a friendship, and how to try and get a friendship with men when they are constantly judging her, whether this was pre-transition or post-transition, when she was out as a trans woman and in, you know, embracing her femininity and learning like what that means to her as a woman, or pre-transition where she was still seen in society as male and she was allowing that male coding and was being judged on how she was presenting at that point, but how she was made to feel like she wasn't enough, and people just chose to judge and act a certain way that has just perpetuated this anxiety. Like, she is seen as a threat, and it's so it's so horrific that people will treat you like that just because they don't agree with your presentation. And I think it's such an important book for everyone to read, because I think it really highlights stuff that you probably don't think about before. And I'm reading this, disclaimer, I'm cis, I'm heterosexual, sexuality doesn't really matter, but there we go. But just kind of being aware of like little things, like the way they talk about, the way she talks about how there is a kind of concept of men taking up space, like to be seen as masculine, you need to sort of walk with a bigger stride, sit taking up all the room, like making your stance, and this kind of idea of people not moving out of the way, not kind of giving. There was a really lovely the way she spoke about it, and this isn't a dig at, you know, all people who are male. This is a dig at society. There are obviously certain individuals that have you know, should take responsibility for their own behaviour, but this is very much a look at the way society has laid out the rules, and why we need to question this more and to be more accepting and more open and more sharing of our space. Let me see if I can find the bit. So I thought this was very powerful, especially because I'm aware that I am raising 2 boys. When I was learning to be a man, I wished that instead of the coaching I received to take up space, I had been taught to be respectful of space, to be ever conscious of and ever grateful to those whose sacred land I inhabit. I also, to give up or create space when I am afforded more than others. So that concept of just checking your privilege and just being aware. And I think, you know, I am, what's the word? Guilty. It's not quite the word I'm looking for, but that kind of thing. Like, I need to be more conscious of that. Sometimes when I get excited about things in a conversation, I talk and I use my arms a lot. So in conversations, I do think I do take up quite a lot of space with this. And I sometimes need to make sure that I rein it in and allow other people to feel that they can talk as well. So that's something that I need to be better at. I'm aware I do it, and I need to be better at making sure I let quieter people talk. So it's something that we all need to be constantly learning about and reflecting on. And there was a moment in here where just the way she spoke about certain relationships and just this, there were some quite shocking things in here that I had never really considered before. Like, I have heard of other stories where not all queer spaces are accepting of all queer people. And even within the communities where you would think there should be more empathy, there are certain individuals that feel that they have a more right to be there than you, or you should be presenting a certain way or looking a certain way, and that maybe you're doing things wrong. And just the way you choose to interact and have boundaries and say, this makes me feel uncomfortable, this makes me feel comfortable, can we do this? And just this like trying to establish an openness rather than being told that you're contradictory, like you were giving me this signal, therefore I feel this is acceptable behavior on my part, or why are you giving me all this information, like we should just be free and just love each other. And just be aware that all humans are different, and you should listen to people and respect what they feel comfortable with and what they don't. Just because it's different to you doesn't mean it's wrong. And I just thought it was really powerful in here. I can carry on talking for a long time, and I think it's amazing because the book is so small. Yeah, there was a lot in here, and I think I definitely recommend reading it. It was really, really interesting. I definitely think it makes you reflect on a lot of things, and I think that's really important. Okay, I'm going to talk about one that's not quite as fun. It's not terrible, but it could be better. So one of the books I picked up from the library was a children's non-fiction called Understanding Transgender. So this is by, this is a series called My Life, Your Life, where they look at like different types of social things. So for example, on the back they've got things like self-esteem and confidence, like family differences, understanding sexuality, so that's more of a YA one, overcoming fear or failure, like those types of things. So this was written with, I think, lots of medical professionals, and they have a story of the sort of feelings and experience of one trans boy in here. Now, I do like the way that this is set up. I like how we have the introduction, like thinking about, well, what is gender? Thinking about, different presentations, thinking about identity, explaining body dysphoria, knowing there's a difference between gender identity and sexuality and attraction. So it uses, so it doesn't actually use the word sex in the book. It just speaks about thinking about romantic feelings towards each other, and how you can be attracted. So it uses that kind of language. But I have got quite a few paper notes all over here, and that's because there were certain things that just did not quite sit right with me in terms of the language. So I think the heart in this book is in the right place, but there were certain bits of language in here that I think isn't quite helpful. So like the way they talk about gender, something that kind of occurs sort of a lot is they almost get it right with at the beginning where they talk about assigned gender, and things that are given to us, and that gender is based on whether we have a penis or a vagina. And it's like, you're almost there, but not quite. And I just think the very important phrase that we are all assigned a gender at birth, which is based on our genitals. So it's clear, like, this is what society does, and it's not giving an opinion of this is the way things should be. It just ever so slightly, just by changing that ever so slightly, I just think makes it a little bit clearer. There are worse ones. So when it moves on to talking about what transgender is, the language just isn't quite there. So they use the phrase transgender or trans describes people who feel that their body doesn't match the gender they believe they are. I don't like that sentence at all, because it implies choice rather than being and reflecting on how you feel and going, this doesn't feel me. So instead of saying believe or feel, it needs to kind of be clearer, and this is what you are. The transness comes from that your gender you were assigned at birth doesn't align with the gender you are. So it's trans people are, it's not believing and feeling. They are. Even people who are questioning, like, they still are them. They still very much know that that they are not cis. Like, it doesn't quite fit for them. Even if they haven't fully kind of worked out what does fit for them, because it's something that needs exploring. It's not a choice. It's working out who you are. It's identifying. It's exploring. It's being a gender explorer to a place where you feel comfortable. And it's not. And when I say feel, by that I'm talking about how it makes you feel at home inside. Use feel again. Not that, oh, I feel that it's more this rather than this. It's not a opinion. It is a thing. It is a fact. So that needs to be clearer, because I think that can lead to a bit of chaos, quite frankly. And there was one bit in the book. So when they go to when they talk about trans is not LGB, so lesbian, gay, bisexual. It's not sexual orientation. They again sort of get the words a little bit muddled up. It's not the best language. Is that the bit? Oh yeah, no, so I didn't write it as explicitly. So yeah, basically they mess up the pronouns quite badly. Oh no, it was on the gender identity bit. Anyway, there's a part in the book where they are using the incorrect pronouns. So they say, for example, a trans boy given or assigned the female gender at birth may feel odd behaving in a way a girl is expected to behave. She doesn't feel like a girl inside. It's like, it's a trans boy, that should be he. He... And again, it's trying to work out the I'm still not quite happy with how they're using the language in here. So it's more that, first of all, we need to be using the male pronoun, because we've already, it's a hypothetical person, and it's an example, but we've already stated that he's a trans boy, therefore he needs a male pronoun. I know they're trying to explain it to a child, but you need to use the correct language, and it's using the wrong pronoun in this sentence, and that's ridiculous. So yeah, it just didn't quite and it continues to do that throughout the book. There is a use of the word belief and feel. There is a lot of really good information here, so I feel like they're going in the right direction. I mean, they address lots of different concepts, like dress code doesn't matter. That's like personal expression. That's your fashion choices. Like, there isn't a right way to be a woman or non-binary or a male. Like, there's no like level of masc or femininity across those. You know, you can still be a woman and have more of a masculine reflecting fashion sense. So it does explain it does kind of go through that and explore those different things. And it talks a lot about being supportive. So I think this is definitely this is not written for people who are trans. This is very much written for, I think, cis people, to explain what trans is, especially if there is like a trans child in the school. Like, that's who I think this book is aimed at, but it still needs to do better. The language still isn't quite right in here. It definitely needs looking at and editing. And maybe getting several people who are trans to proofread this and say yay or nay, and give some much needed, I think, advice. So it means well, but it's not hitting the mark. Okay, getting very wordy on these books. We're already half an hour in and I've done half the book, so it's going well. The next book I want to talk about is, I'll talk about that later. Is Pages & Co, the first book in the series. So this is Tilly and the Bookwanderers by Anna James. So I read this as buddy read with the lovely Tallia from Bandana Book Mum and Kelli from Kelli Reads a Lot. And it was so lovely. I was very hyped about this book. I very much felt this was going to be a cozy read. This was going to be something that I was really going to enjoy. And I did. I really, really did. There's just something about book characters who love books, the setting of the bookshop, all the joy in here. And it just immediately felt warm and cozy. There is an exploration of some kind of like contemporary issues that middle grade children will have, like, you know, changes in friendship groups, changing schools, people kind of drifting apart, finding new interests, you kind of wondering where you fit, where's your place in the world. So a lot of that was explored. Family was explored, and choosing to kind of like I suppose like she kind of comes into her own a little bit, like she kind of grows as a person in confidence, and working out what it means to be a friend and what friendship looks like, and just that you can completely say that you're friends with book characters. Like it's a lovely thing, and I think all readers will feel that kind of affinity for it. There's certain stories that we just remember so fondly. People who reread will be definitely going through those stories again and again, and I think as a book lover it's really fun to just notice all like the little different bits and pieces in here and be like, oh, I reckon that is that connection there to that book. So in this book, Tilly lives in a bookshop and she can book wander, and she starts to recognise this, sometimes her grandparents are talking to some different characters. She's had some chats with some girls who seem really friendly, but then suddenly disappear and she can't find them. And as a reader, you have made the connection that she was just talking to the Alice from Alice in Wonderland and the Anne from Anne of Green Gables. And I thought it was very well done of Anna James. You definitely got the sense of those characters. You got Alice's quite blunt, open way of doing things and her appreciation of the ridiculous and her constant chattering in this book. I thought it was really well done. And Anne, you have her whimsicalness, and all of those things kind of came through the pages really, really well. Pun absolutely intended. It wasn't intended, but I'm taking it. And there's just that kind of magical feeling, the portal fantasy, and just this love of books. So there were certain things in here that we were theorising on as we were talking about it, and that came through. But then there were other things as well which we hadn't considered, and that was like, oh, that was fun. And just the way certain things happened in here, it was just such a delightful adventure. Very warm, very cozy, and I cannot wait to be continuing the series. I did tab some pages in here that I will do a little reading from, because I think it's just something that all book lovers can resonate with. So I love this, how one character speaks about books in this extract. Books can change minds and change worlds, open doors and open minds, and plant seeds that can grow into magical or even terrifying things. Stories are things to be loved and respected at the same time. Never underestimate the power of them. It's why books are often casualties of censorship. Those who ban or burn books are those who are scared of what can be found among their pages. But imagine what might happen if those people also knew there was a way to permanently damage those stories. So yes, you get a sense of a stake in here, but I just love how they talk about books. And this was a really delightful one as well. Book wandering is only possible in bookshops and libraries in our experience. You know, when you walk into a bookshop and you see all those thousands of books lined up in front of you, that intoxicating feeling of knowing that behind each cover is a different world to explore, like thousands of tiny portals. That adrenaline rush just before you open a new book. The thrill of being surrounded by fellow book lovers. That is what fuels book wandering, and it comes to life in bookshops. Love it. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And I feel if you are here watching this channel where I talk about books, you must feel the same. Got another picture book for you now. So this is Phoenix Goes to School. So it reads like a fiction, but this is actually a memoir and has been co-authored by a mother and daughter. So this has been written by Michelle and Phoenix Finch, and it's been illustrated by Sharon Davie. I really love the book cover here. I love that we've got Phoenix running in really excited with her hair flowing behind her, and I love how her name looks like it's just been done in lots of different coloured like chalks and different ways children draw and illustrate things. I think it's really eye-catching. So it explains at the beginning of the book who Phoenix is and why she wanted to share her story in this book. And I'm going to read you the dedication because I think it's really special. So Michelle and Phoenix Finch say, "This book is dedicated to all the children and parents out there in the world who are being brave every day just to be who they are." So Phoenix is a gender non-conforming trans girl, and it's her first day of school and she wants to wear a dress. So she wanted to share her story so that other children who might be experiencing similar things could know they're not alone. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to recognise. I think it was at the age of 7 that she started doing this. So I just think that's a wonderful thing for a 7-year-old to come up with and want to do and want to share, and just understanding that representation is so important, which is why readathons like TRANSGIRL April are so important, because people need to see their story. They need to recognise that there are others like them, that you're not alone, that you have as much right as everyone else to see yourself reflected in media, because otherwise it is a very lonely place. And slowly, by knocking down all these walls and barriers, everyone can get an equal place in this world and feel nurtured and loved and safe, which is vital, and we have a lot of work to do. Anyway, back to the story. So we get to meet Phoenix and her family, and she explains in a really lovely way. "When I was born, the doctor told my parents they had a baby boy. But I know I'm really a girl, and I've always been this way. Just like I always wake up early. As soon as my eyes are open, I pop out of bed and get to work playing." And then Phoenix goes to explain all the different things that she enjoys doing. Lots of different interests, some more coded masculine, some more coded feminine. And we have lots of different flowers that she really likes, and lots of different outfits, reflecting like different things she wants to wear day to day. I love how they talk about dresses. So one of the things she enjoys is, "I love dresses too. I like the way they swish and swiggle when I walk." And if you've ever worn a dress, you will know that feeling when there's a very different feeling to having like something that's sort of stiff material or something that's a floaty material. I do enjoy floaty material. I completely agree with Phoenix. It's really fun to feel the fabric like swaying around as you walk. It's exciting. Life should be exciting. And then we have this lovely illustration of Phoenix looking in the mirror and just looking a little bit worried. So she knows she wants to wear a dress to school, but she also has very normal worries that come with that. And we have again another lovely illustration. So we've got Phoenix like being displayed central in the middle, looking worried, and then we have this idea behind. So Phoenix is completely drawn in full colour, and everyone else is just line drawings behind her, these images of like what might happen, to just kind of really highlight how she's feeling and the worry. And then I love this image here of the hug, so of her hug with her mum. and then you've got this lovely flower image behind, which I think is beautiful because flowers have already been used to show that Phoenix enjoys lots of different things, and her mum uses that to explain that, remember, just like flowers, everyone's different and everyone is beautiful. So she gives the encouragement and things that Phoenix needs. There's been a lot of support kind of input into school to kind of help her feel comfortable. So here we go, we've got a friendly school teacher, we've got a child that's interested, wants to play, and then we just have a description of how different children interact. And actually Phoenix finds that children are accepting. If they've not learnt to hate, they've got normal questions. Once everything is like just spoken about, they just move on and carry on playing, because playing is fun, and it doesn't really matter how you present who you are, as long as everyone is enjoying playing together. And then you get a little bit more information about Phoenix at the end. So there's a section for children and a section for grown-up, and you also have like some more information again about Michelle and Phoenix here at the end. So this is a really lovely book. It's a great one to sort of be sharing with children, looking at different people's worries, different lives, and that we're all just people. What book was I going to talk about next? It was completely gone out of my head. Oh yes, so that was the last of the ones I have read. Picture book wise, I have got one more novel to talk to you about. So this is Uncomfortable Labels by Laura Kate Dale, My Life as a Gay Autistic Trans Woman. I've just finished reading this one yesterday. It was definitely one of those ones where I just had so much to think about. So I started off the book, and I work in early years with parents and babies and preschool children, and we do kind of a lot of like information about child development and kind of like support. So it was so fascinating hearing Laura talking about her parents' experience with her as an infant that just did not sleep. So talking about the like sensory overload that babies with autism have, and there's so many things that can just be put down to babies don't sleep and babies having colic, and I just basically had to screenshot a few paragraphs and just share this with my work friends. I was like, look, this is what we're talking about. It's not clear. This would be why, like, you know, we need to have a lot more training on autistic children. Autistic babies is never a thing. Everything you think about is hindsight, because you don't you don't say that baby's autistic. It just doesn't happen. There's a huge criteria to kind of go through and all these things, but it's just so important to listen to parents and to listen to their experience and to not presume and put our preconceived notions on other people. Because the extent that Laura's mum was going through to try and get Laura to sleep, you could just see it. You could just see all the things she was describing, and having worked with very sleep deprived parents and children that just can't switch their brain off sometimes, so much of this made a lot of sense, and it was really fascinating. So those early pages, I was definitely like speaking a lot to my work colleagues, and it was really interesting to hear Laura talking about this kind of like how sometimes like it can go hand in hand with being undiagnosed, between being a trans girl and being on the autistic spectrum, and how like these can sometimes be missed because it's a different way of presenting than what they are typically looking for, especially traits that they would be looking for in an autistic boy that they're expecting to see, because they presume the trans girls are boys until things are discussed otherwise, and just how people can slip through the net. So it was really fascinating hearing about all of that, and I think it was such an important book to be exploring those things. And then as she goes on, and just the way you know, because of her neurodivergent brain, the way that she views things like then led to her being sort of given different coping mechanisms and but also different models of her shared experience of what a social situation is supposed to be like, because it wasn't recognised that she was autistic. It wasn't recognised that she was a trans girl, so was struggling with these things, and she didn't feel she could voice things because she was trying to learn how to be accepted in social situations. And also, like, the really important thing coming from this as well is like understanding, like, a lot of people do worry about the vulnerability of someone who is autistic, but it's that kind of concept of, please listen again before you start judging what people should be thinking and feeling. Like, don't underestimate people's capabilities just because you've put a label on them. And also, I love that she explains the title Uncomfortable Labels also comes down to some, like, one of the things that she is aware of, and because of being autistic, certain sensations of fabrics and clothing and labels can just really be too much sensory information. So it was really amazing just hearing how life is like for her, and things that not all autistic people, but a lot of autistic people will probably resonate with. And also exploring that with her trans journey as well. And something that I'd never considered too is, like, one of the reasons that she sometimes feels like she has to choose between, am I focusing more on my autistic needs today, or am I focusing more on my my image and my need to feel to battle my, like, body dysphoria today? Because things like wearing makeup can just, that's too much sensory information. She's too aware of it, she's too conscious of it, she's too obsessed with it, and she can't relax with it. But in certain situations she feels she needs to be more feminine coded. And then it comes down again to this concept of gender and what we expect from people. And there's just so many moments in here that I just needed to pause and think about what she was saying, because there was such important things that as trans allies we need to be considering, we need to be supporting and making other people aware of. Because for trans people to completely keep explaining who they are, like, Laura carries a load of paperwork around to, like, prove that she's a woman, that she is autistic, that all of these different things, because people don't think she is who she is. And that must be so hard and frustrating and difficult and exhausting. So, you know, just, it's such an important book to read, for everyone to read, so you can understand what it's like not only to be trans, not only to be autistic, but to be that combination of trans and autistic. It's just fabulous. It was such a good book. And thank you so much, Laura, for writing this. I just feel so lucky to have read it. It's really helped my understanding of what it's like to have autism. Like, I'm never going to completely understand, but I'm getting a clearer picture. I'm working towards that. And also the struggles of what it's like to be trans, especially a trans woman, and just feel like you constantly got to be assessing social situations all the time in terms of your safety, and from both hostile men and hostile women. And it's just exhausting. And as trans allies, we need to be making sure that we explain to people more, and if we see something, that we call it out, and just be supportive, because it's exhausting. But this was an absolutely brilliant book. I recommend so much, and I will be talking about it when I talk about the Spoonies Readathon, because obviously this is a own voice autistic memoir, and so I'm going to be making sure people are aware of that for this one, because it's just such a good book. Really recommend. Okay, so that is everything I've read so far. I'm going to tell you the books that I'm working on, and oh my goodness, we're nearly at an hour. What a surprise. always optimistic that maybe if I spoke about it, then maybe I wouldn't waffle on for so long. But I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say about these books that needs to come out. So thank you for being my therapy whilst I chat to you and just get rid of all my feelings about everything I've read. So I am working on reading Gender Heroes. This has been illustrated by Philippa Nomorado. And it doesn't say who kind of pulled it all together. Just checking to see if it does. Okay, the publishers. So Jessica Kingsley Publishers are the author of this book. So we get a page of trans hero. So it goes through different people. So it's got activists. It's got well-known activists like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia. Suddenly feeling bad because I can't remember her surname. Sylvia Rivera. And then you have ones where I hadn't heard of, like oh, here we go. Charlie Cragg, who does this fantastic advocacy and not advocacy, that's the wrong word, activism, where she has this kind of like, ask a trans person anything you like while I do your nails. So we've got this nice sort of like sharing experience of you know, letting, you know, healthy touch, doing someone's nails. It's a really positive thing. It's a really nice thing. You're making someone feel good about themselves, and you're allowing an open conversation. You're allowing this safe space to kind of help people who have got questions ask a real trans person for the answers to their questions. So I just think that's fantastic. I also learnt about so another trans hero I hadn't heard of. I knew about Jazz Jennings. I do want to read the picture book she has, I Am Jazz, but I hadn't heard of Freddie McConnell, who did a documentary called The Dad Who Gave Birth, Family Seahorse. So I think that's really lovely to hear all about that. So I wasn't aware of that, so that's given me something else to look into. And we also have, I did love seeing, oh, sorry, my TV is making noises. Stop making noises, TV. I love having Owl and Fox Fisherman here, and I love that they're together in this page. I think that's really lovely. So they've done a lot of activism together, and also things separately, so it spoke about them. So it's just a really lovely inspirational book to hear about all the other fantastic trans people who have gone before, so it's very inspirational to people, and it's just really great to hear about and celebrate trans people. So I'm continuing with that. So I'm doing a little bit every day, like 1 or 2 pages a day, which is I feel it's a nice way to be doing it. So I'm halfway through, and I just feel I can take it in a little bit more that way. Other book that's not so little is this one. This is He Who Drowned the World, which is the follow-up to She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. So this is another book that is for both TRANSGIRL April and for the Magical Readathon. And I'm really enjoying it. I have maybe got a fifth, I might be at the fifth of the way in, and there was a sort of summary at the beginning. I thought I might have to go and research a little bit of She Who Became the Sun online, but actually I remembered the key points, I remembered the key characters, and as you read it, Shelley Parker Chan just brings them to life. Zoo has just come back and is just as charming as ever. So it's wonderful to be reconnecting to our protagonist, and other characters in here, like picking up where they left off. And yeah, I'm just enjoying seeing where this story is going to go. There's a lot of excitement. I find it funny. I love the detail in here. It's still very much reading as a historical fiction, sort of like it still feels very epic, like, you know, you're following different characters. There is very much like a political power struggle going on for who is going to grab the most land and resources and be the ruler and the winner of all of this stuff. Everyone's got their own power grab plans and different methods and different reasons for what they're doing. And it's just really, really fascinating. But Zoo, our protagonist, just oozes charm. I just think that she's delightful. Really enjoying my time with this. We'll see how it all pans out. I don't know how it's all going to go down, but I'm just having a great time, just like reconnecting with all these characters and seeing what they get up to. So that is everything that I have been reading and I'm currently reading that I wanted to talk to you about. So thank you for hanging out with me and carrying on through all the waffle. I hope you found some of it interesting. Please let me know if you have any thoughts or opinions about any of these books. Are you interested in them? Have you read any of them? Have you got different thoughts to mine? You know I love a chat, so please get chatty in the comments. And if you just want to let me know you're here, because I do appreciate like watching, lurking. You don't need to come out and say hello. I do appreciate you just being there. If you want to just give a little emoji, let's go for a trans flag. Let's just do trans flag or rainbow, or a flower for Phoenix. Happy reading, everyone.